Oh, okay. Chapter 16. The Western Heritage, Transatlantic Economy, Trade Wars, and Colonial Revolution. Here's a picture of war and rivalry. This is the French and Indian War. Okay. Big overview. In the mid-18th century, this is the 1700s, 1750 on, a renewal of European warfare. Austria versus Prussia over dominance of Central Europe. Great Britain versus France for commercial and colonial supremacy. Outcomes: Prussia emerges as a great power, and Great Britain gains world empire. Now, Prussia becomes a great empire because they are in Eastern Europe, Eastern Central Europe, and Great Britain expands its empire through colonialization. Peace results in restructuring of taxation and finance, leading in turn to the American Revolution. Is taxation without representation. Continental enlightened absolutism. Example of that is the Declaration of Independence. Continuing French financial crisis, spending money on wars and increasing their debt. Reform of Spanish South American Empire. So as you can see, the main players in the colonial era are England, France, and Spain. Okay, European overseas empires. 4 phases of European contact with New World. Okay, and I believe this is a test. Discovery, exploration, conquest, settlement, and to the end of the 17th century. 17th century equals 1600s. Use those different levels as a way to write an FRQ. Mercantile empires and great power trade rivalries, slavery, colonial independence to 1820s. That's when major independence movements happened in Latin America. In the 19th century, this is the 1800s, empires in Africa and Asia. And decolonization is the mid to late 20th century, which is the end after World War I and World War II. The source of world domination is technology, ships, and guns. And you could put in guns, germs, and steel. Here's a picture of a colonial port. Okay, mercantile empires. The key word there is mercantile. Early in the 18th century, 1700s. Boundaries are set by the 1713 Treaty of Utrecht. It gives each one of these countries, Spain, Britain, France, and the Netherlands, certain things. It gives Spain South America except for Brazil, Florida, Mexico, California, and North American Southwest, Central America, and Caribbean positions. Next thing it does is give Britain the North Atlantic seaboard, Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, the parts of Canada, Caribbean, and trading posts on the Indian subcontinent. So they are now in Asia, which would be India. In France, the St. Lawrence, Ohio, Mississippi river valleys, Caribbean possessions. One would be Haiti, for example, and trading posts in India and West Africa. The Netherlands gets Suriname in South Africa, the Cape Colony in South Africa. Trading posts in West Africa, Sri Lanka, and India also controlled trade with Java in the Southeast Pacific. This is an important slide to review. Mercantilist goals. Underlying economic theory of the 18th century, 1700s. International trade zone as a zero-sum game. Whoever gets the most gold wins. So if one wins, another one loses. Colonies meant to trade exclusively with the home country. Hard to enforce because it was more profitable to trade with other colonies. So they wanted to have total monopolies. However, it was very difficult for them to enforce it. The French-British rivalry. You'll see this ongoing theme. North American colonial quarrels over St. Lawrence River Valley, Upper New England, Ohio River Valley, fishing rights, fur trade, Native American alliances. Biggest area of rivalry is the West Indies. That's a test question. And these are things they get from there. Tobacco, cotton, indigo. Indigo is a dye, a blue dye. Coffee, sugar, and India. And we know that England wins out in India. Spanish colonial system. It's a colonial government. The technical link between the New World and the Spain was the Crown of Castile. Top-down administration, almost no self-government. There's a picture of what you would call New Spain or the New World. There's a picture of San Luis Potosí, and you can see how the Indians are doing all of the work, or Native Americans or indigenous people. Trade regulation, only one port authorized for use in American trade. Casa de Contracción regulated all trade with the New World. It functioned to serve as a Spanish colonial interest, precious metals and mines. The flota system tried to ensure Spanish economic hegemony, which means it stays at the top. Colonial reform under the Spanish Bourbon monarchs. Crucial early 18th century change was the War of Spanish Succession. We've seen this before. And the Treaty of Utrecht replaced Spanish Habsburgs with Bourbons of France. Philip V ruled from 1700 to 1714, and successors tried to revive decaying trade monopolies and suppress smuggling. Charles III, the most important imperial reformer. Royal representatives favored over local councils, improved the imperial economy, but it introduced tensions between Spanish from Spain and Creoles. These were Spanish-born in America. African presence in the Americas, and this is where we will stop.